City Manager, is there any reportable actions from the closed session?
There's no reportable action this evening.
Okay, great. Larry, I'm going to go ahead and call back to order our meeting. Good evening, and I would like to call our regular City Council meeting back to order around 7:01. At this time, I would like to ask, do we have attendance? Do we have to go back with the roll call? Okay. All right, great, thank you. All right, at this time, I would like to ask Monsignor John Urel from St. Timothy's Catholic Church to come forward for the invocation, and then we will have Cub Scout Pack 771 come forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Good evening, everyone. Loving God, we thank you for all the blessings you give us each day. Blessings that surround us that we don't often recall, remember, or even notice. Give us a grateful heart in this new year 2020. Give us the opportunities to be of service to others. That service is an expression of our love for you. Bless all of our our city council members, all the city staff, and all of us who call Laguna Niguel our home. As we strive to love you by service of others, may we recall the words of St. Paul, who tells us that love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous, love is not pompous, it is not inflated, love is not rude, it does not seek its own interests, it is not quick-tempered, it does not brood over injury. Love does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. For this kind of love never fails. Hear the prayers we offer this evening, gracious God, and grant us your blessing. Amen.
Thank you, Monsignor.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Cub Scout Pack 771, Color Guard advance. Please place your hand over your heart. Those in uniforms and veterans salute. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Audience, you may be seated.
Great job. If everyone stays down there, we're going to come up and introduce you. Great job, everyone. Everyone's back to school after the holidays, huh? Or it's not fun, is it? No. Just like everyone's back to work and it's not fun, right? All right, well, you did a great job. What I'm going to do is have you tell me who you are and what school and what grade you're at, and then just pass it on down, but I'll hold this for you.
My name is Jacob. I'm in 5th grade and I go to Marion Bergeson Elementary School. My name is James. I'm in 5th grade. I go to Marion Bergeson Elementary School.
My name's Lawrence, and I'm in the 5th grade, and I go to Marion Bergeson.
My name is Jose, and I'm in 4th grade, and I go to Hidden Hills Elementary School.
My name is Tristan, and I go to Chaparral Elementary School, and I'm in 3rd grade.
My name is Logan. I'm in 3rd grade, and I go to Marion Bergeson Elementary School.
My name is Colton. I'm 5-year-old. I'm in Bergeson Elementary School.
I'm Paige. I'm in the 4th grade, and I work at Marion Ferguson Elementary School. Don't be shy.
How old are you? How many? 6? Oh, all right. When's your birthday? See, everyone knows when their birthday is, especially when you're young. And what's your name? All right. Well, good job. And how long have you been a scout? You, huh? You knew it. Okay. All right. Well, you guys did a great job. Also, can we have our parents stand up? We want to thank you so much because we know how much work it takes to do this. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And then also, do we have our leaders up here? If we can have our troops. There we are. Do you introduce here?
My name is Julio, and I'm a den leader for Pack 771.
And my name is Jason Krasuski. I'm the Cub Master, proud Cub Master at Pack 771.
Well, fantastic. Oh, that's your dad. All right. You didn't say your. She said he didn't say his grade. So, anyways, let's get a picture taken. Sound good? All righty. Thanks. I know. Everybody? Okay, great. All right. Let's see, who is our color guard? Who's dismissing the color guard? All right. Good job. All right. Yay. All right. Good job. All right, we have a couple presentations tonight. And I want to start out as our first presentation this evening is a resolution commending Stephanie Winstead, Laguna Niguel Chamber of Commerce 2019 Chair of the Board. At this time, Stephanie, if you'd like to come up. And I want you to know that Stephanie has been so involved in this community and lots of different committees. She was on Traffic and Transportation. She's now on Parks and Rec. So she's been very involved in the community. So come on up, and we have our, very good. I'm going to just read because there's a lot of whereases, and so I'm going to read just a few because you are very involved. I'm going to try the small print, exactly. Okay. Whereas Stephanie Winston's leadership, the Chamber represented the interests of businesses with government by offering monthly governmental and community relationships meetings with keynote speakers such as a Mayor's State of the City luncheon, which you did a great job, city manager's reception, and by taking political action on business-friendly propositions and proposals that would enhance the community and improve the quality of life. And whereas Stephanie Winstead and her board of directors implemented programs to promote businesses and the community through a community guide daily, Facebook Spotlight, Facebook Businesses of the Week, Instagram posts, and by organizing businesses display opportunities. You have been so involved when it comes to business friendly, and we really are a city that's business friendly. So you have gone above and beyond. We thank you so much for that, and I know that you're still very involved, so we'll see you around there. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the Laguna Niguel City Council does hereby commend Stephanie Winstead on completing her term as the 2019 chair of the Board of Laguna Niguel Chamber of Commerce, acknowledging the valuable contribution and positive impact in the organization and community, and extends to her best wishes for continued success in all future endeavors. So thank you very much, and I'm going to give you the mic. Oh, okay. You can say
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the resolution, and it's been a long road, and I have put in a lot of effort, so it's really nice to be honored. So thank you very much, and it's not ending, so I'm going to stick around. So yeah, this is just the beginning.
Well, we're very proud and so pleased to have you in this city. Want to take a picture with you? Want to be in the middle? Sure. Come on. Yeah. Grant, you want to come up for a picture? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Monty, do you want to take a picture for her?
Oh, yes.
How's that?
I used up all your film.
Okay. All right. On to our next presentation. I would like to recognize a special guest in the audience with us this evening. At this time, I would like to have Mr. Hugo Fruhoff come forward. Now, Mr. Fruhoff is a resident of Laguna Niguel, and you never know, we have such incredible, valuable people here, and so this is something. What did you do to your arm to begin with?
Well, this beautiful area, I run and jog, and I took a huge spill to my leg. It's going to be 6 weeks of this.
Oh, that's no fun, especially when you like doing that activity. All righty. Well, Mr. Fruhoff was selected as the 2019 Queen Elizabeth Prize winner for engineering on the Global Positioning System, which we know as GPS, and how it enables anyone with a smartphone to pinpoint where they are on Earth, as well as the precise time. It is also used in applications that range from aviation safety and banking to locating and rescuing ships in distress. On behalf of the City of Laguna Niguel, we would like to recognize and honor you for this distinguished award. So my question is, do you ever get lost?
Not anymore.
I just couldn't resist, you know. Anyways, we would like to present this with you.
Thank you.
And do you want to say a few words?
Sure.
And can you let us know, like, when you moved to Laguna Niguel, and see, we've got all these gems within our city.
This award was done by the Queen Elizabeth Foundation for Engineering. They award it every 2 years, and it's only awarded for people who have contributed to the point where the entire world has changed as a result. And no one will argue about that particular thing. I was among 4 others, and of course there's hundreds of people that do these kind of things and succeed. And so the Queen only awards either one prize or 4 people at most, and it's kind of bad when you know your friends, have all this, of course, too. And her award is £1 million, so we split that between the 4 of us, so it's actually more generous than a Nobel Prize. And I had a special guest with me, my daughter, Susan. She is taking photographs over here, and she was all part of this whole event in the Buckingham Palace with Prince Charles, Prince of Wales.
So how do we rate doing it here? Like,
This is home.
better?
This is better. Actually, I won't let you do that.
Well, we would love a picture, and I'm going
Thank
to
you.
hand this over to you here. Great. And if you want to come in the middle over here? Sure. Great. Go for it.
Well, it don't have anything to do with the map.
Right.
Just the maps use that signal.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Okay, one more. Thank you, Paul. One more photo.
Thank you very much.
We hope that you heal fast.
I shall come over here once.
Please do come. We would love to have you. All right, we're almost here, and this is a participation type activity for the council here. All right, we finished here, and our next presentation this evening is the Chamber of Commerce Shop Laguna Niguel Contest Winners Announcements. At this time, I would like to ask Scott Alvery, President of the CEO of Laguna Niguel Chambers of Commerce, to come forward for the presentation. Oh, John. All right. Yay, John. Yes, that'd be great.
Hi, we're here to talk about our TRIO program that was so successful. The Chamber and the city worked together to encourage residents and visitors to spend dollars here in Laguna Niguel all year. With
with the Shop Laguna Niguel holiday program, a focus campaign encourages our neighbors to spend their dollars locally. The Chamber decided to make it easier on participants by adopting the Trio Awards app to scan their receipts, and I used it a lot. It was really easy to do. With the Trio application, points from the scanned receipts can be sent at participating Trio Awards restaurants and stores throughout the year, not just during the holiday season. And of course, our amazing staff, Diane, here's our staff, helped participants load the application on their phones. Okay, the top 5 merchants by transactions, no surprise here for the beginning. Costco, both locations. I've been there a few times. Walmart, Albertsons, and of course, Good Choice Sushi and Smart and Final. Top 5 merchants by dollar volume are Costco Wholesale, Walmart, Albertsons, Marina Hills Animal Hospital, and Sprouts Farmers Market.
So nobody bought a car this year?
No, gosh, I tried, but I couldn't get. Okay, the Chamber purchased $1,750 from local businesses and restaurants to be our reward or prize here. $1,000 for first place, $500 for second, and $250 for third. So, Honorable Mayor Lori Davies, you're going to get put to work here.
Okay, so are we starting with the 250? We're starting with 1,000.
We're going
Okay,
with
I'll do
the-
the 1,000, and then anyone else that wants to do the other 2, you can take turns, or I think it'd be fun.
Okay.
All right, bring it in here, right? I know. There we go.
Okay. All right.
Feet. Oh, thought I was at church. All righty, here we go. You ready, Diane? Because Diane has all the numbers here. I don't want those to dump out there. Okay. Number is 482376. 482376. Yeah. Oh my God, it's me. Yeah.
Regal.
All right. And he's not here tonight. Councilmember Raines, you want to do the next one?
Last year too.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he won last year
Here, I'm
too.
gonna keep this here.
I don't know about this.
Maynard Raines here.
Yeah, we don't have ours in here. Okay, 481963.
The winning number, 481996. 481996. Bingo. Yahtzee. Maureen Crowley. Good job. Congratulations, Maureen. I think we're done. We're back up.
All right, before we go into public communication, I'm going to be asking our city manager, Tammy Letourneau, if she has any updates on the city center process.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to give you a brief update on where we are with this project. The analysis of the city center project is underway according to the California Environmental Quality Act, otherwise known as CEQA. That includes the preparation of the environmental impact report and all the accompanying technical studies. It's ongoing. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. Upon completion of that, and prior to any public hearings on this project, the draft EIR will be made available to the public for review and comment. In addition, the County of Orange has retained a library consultant to aid in the assessment of the proposed library component of this project. To date, this has included soliciting feedback from the community at meetings, and there's a working group that includes members of both the county and city staff, 2 council members, the Friends of the Library, and Laguna Niguel residents. The evaluation of that component of the project is also ongoing. The development team is fine-tuning their project proposal, including the library component, based upon the input that they've received in the community and the feedback from the meetings we've had, one-on-one conversations, all the information we received in the strategic plan, and our November 13th EIR scoping meeting. Lastly, a Planning Commission public workshop is tentatively planned for February 25th. The purpose of that meeting is to provide city staff the opportunity to present the project overview to the Planning Commission and solicit feedback from the community so far as to what we have regarding this project. Once we finalize that date, we will widely distribute a notice about that and get that information out to the community. But it's important to note that we're not asking the Planning Commission at that point for formal action on the project. So that will come at a later date. So I just wanted to provide you with, it's all in process and ongoing and moving ahead, but I just wanted to let you know where that was.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, I would now like to open public communications. Any person wishing to address the city council will need to complete and present a gold-colored request to counter that is located near the door for the council chambers. Please be aware that your time will be limited to 3 minutes for each person to speak. To allow equal time for speakers, minutes may not be given to another speaker. You may have another person read your written statement. City Clerk Gomez, are there any more? Right now, we've got these 2.
Yes,
That's it?
ma'am.
Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to call your name. If you want to come up, give us your name and your address. Let's start with Monty McDivitt.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Monty McDivitt. My address is 30781 Seminole Place here in the city. I'm a 30-year resident of Laguna Niguel. Here to invite the city staff and city council to our Celebrate the Preserve fundraiser this weekend. I think you all have one of these invitations in your hand. I just wanted to just read the back of this if I could, because it really synopses the whole afternoon. So this Sunday on January 26th between 2 and 5 p.m. at Sea Country Community Center, the Niguel Botanical Preserve Board of Directors invite you to join us for the 4th annual Celebrate the Preserve. It's a hosted informal afternoon of appetizers, silent auction, entertainment, and discussions related to enhancements of the preserve, and your support and participation input are key to maintaining Laguna Niguel's hidden gem. One thing that we've noticed while we've been maintaining and upgrading the preserve over the last 10 years is we've been seeing increased foot traffic for our residents taking family photos, graduation photos, prom photos. It's a big center for photography here in Laguna Niguel for personal use. So with that in mind, we are hopefully installing a new bridge in our meadow that will attract families and graduates and proms to come take their photos there. So just one of many venues and vignettes around the preserve that you can get your photo taken. So wanted to invite you all. Do you have any questions at all?
I can just tell you this is a great event. It's always fun every year, and I'm amazed at the great turnout we have and the funding that you pick up. It's great. I mean, the gazebo is beautiful that you're able to pay for over the last couple events. So I'll be there, looking forward to it, and I'm sure that our council will be as well.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the weather stays beautiful.
Hopefully it stays beautiful, but we do have a backup plan, so please come, rain or shine.
That's right.
We'll keep you safe, warm, and dry.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. We'll see you on Sunday.
Thank you.
May Love. Good evening, Ms. Love.
Good evening. I'm May Love. I live at 23022 Mara Lester Road here in the city. And everything sounds so positive, but I'm here in opposition of the demolition of the library. And I don't think that our library should be part of a big office building or an office building or whatever, high-end shops or whatever. I feel that our community deserves a standalone building, and we already have a beautiful library, and it breaks my heart to think that it would be demolished for your new project. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to give your information over to our city manager, and she can give you an update on what's going on. I think that'll be good. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. All right, City Clerk, do we have any more? Okay, great. Then public communications is now closed. We're going to move to the consent calendar. All right, we've got items 1 through 9, and I would like to note that we will be voting on the current version of item number 6, highlighted and provided in the red folder. Do we have any items that need to be pulled? I'll start with Councilmember Raines.
4, 5, and 9.
Okay. Councilmember Jennings.
None in addition to this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Genway.
Mayor Davies, I need to abstain on 2 items. On item number 1, on the check register of January 7th, page 5, vendor 1220, payment 5603 to Dell. And on the check register of January 21st, pages 5 to 6, vendor 1220, payment 5766 to Dell. That's my husband's employer.
So just agenda item 1. Okay, great. And Mayor Pro Tem?
Just item number 9 for discussions, and I'd like to make a motion to move the remaining items.
Second.
Second.
All right, and again, that is with also Councilmember Genoway abstaining from item 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstain, except for that? Motion moved. All right, let's go ahead and we'll start with Councilmember Raines, item 4.
Okay, thank you. I'm pulling this item because it's our new investment report as of November 30th, and there's some significant changes in our total cash and investments. We had a significant decrease from our account, almost $13,000, which also resulted in a decrease in our investments, percentage of investments by 6%. So I just wanted a little bit more of an update, if possible, from our interim finance director regarding it is our total pulled monies, right, that we have, and I would appreciate an update on that. And
yes, that's correct. That's the total pulled monies. The major decrease is from our pulling of reserves for paying the community center, the new community center. Also, it's this time of the year, our most of our revenues don't come in at the early part of the year. They're usually property tax, our major revenue source. One of our major revenue source, property tax, comes in. The biggest portion comes in December. But the decrease in the pooled that you noted is mainly from pulling from LAIF up to our checking account, drawing down LAIF money. But again, that's duly because we haven't been receiving the cash flow situation. It's kind of a cyclical kind of thing.
okay, and just so people understand, our LAIF is our actual investment
yes, that's
policy,
the state's
and
local
then the money
agency.
comes out from there when we are short in our cash to cover the expenses. And
Correct.
And you're attributing the majority of that to our Crown Valley community centers.
Yes, it's kind of combination, the cyclical nature of the revenue source coming in, also combined with our outflows of the community center.
Okay, and you anticipate that slowing down once we're done with our community center?
Yes. And you'll notice in December there's going to be an uptake because we've received a fair amount of cash in December for property taxes.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Just to make a comment, I think if you you go back previous years, you're going to see the same thing. It's very consistent that it's going to be lower at this point, and then come April, when the property taxes come in, it's always higher. So this is very consistent with what we've had in the past, correct? Great. All right. Nobody else? Do you want to make a motion?
I'll
to move?
motion to move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstain? Motion moved. Thank you. All right, let's go with item 5.
So this is our implementation of our 115 trust that we had asked and as part of our strategic plan. And the reason I pulled it is, first of all, I'm glad to see that we're moving forward in doing this. The concerns that I had that we only saw one of the companies that was chosen and we didn't get to see the other companies that had actually put in an RFP. I appreciate that that information was given to us later. And my question was, is this not, because this is going to be an investment account and it's going to be created to cover our pension liabilities, is this not something that our investment banking and audit would have also looked at, just like they look at some of our other investment pools prior to being presented with this company to open our trust?
You want to talk about the process?
The trust is set up mainly as a to offset the unfunded liability for the pension. It's not as an investment tool like LAIF or Orange County. It's more of like a setting aside a savings account to pay for these future unfunded growth or and unanticipated spikes or from extra pension costs. That's mostly it's like I said, it's like a savings account that we're setting aside. It can earn additional revenues to combat the unfunded liability growth.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that this would just be a savings account and it wouldn't receive any kind of incremental increases. We're just setting money aside in an account with and we're paying somebody to hold this money as a percentage, but we're not making any percentage of increase or investment?
No, the investment is increasing in value. It's like I said, it's like a savings account. It's just I don't know how to elaborate a little further.
It's really completely different than how we handle our other investments in the city. Okay. We're really setting aside money, and we will set aside money every year in the budget. And we're hiring a company to help us manage that and continue to make that grow. So when we decide to, we can help offset the money that we owe to PERS.
Right,
for
I understand
our
the
pension.
purpose.
But it's completely separate from what we would take to the investment committee to look at and, have detailed discussions about it. There's no problem in sharing all that information. We can do that, and we will be providing the council with updates. We'll be reporting on how well we're doing, what the balances are. We can do that, but it is really different than how we handle all of our other accounts.
Okay, I was just curious because we have in the past with our auditors, they've reviewed them and selected our auditors, and so I just wondered why that process
it's just different.
affect. Okay,
is the simple answer.
Okay.
Council,
any other questions?
make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Any abstain? Motion moved. All right, we're going down to item 9, and I believe Councilman Jennings, is that one that you'd vote? Councilman Raines? Okay. And then, is it? Yeah, Councilman Raines.
I'm super excited that we're going to have our new community center open here real soon, and I saw this, and I just wanted to understand, is this something that was, since I wasn't here, I'm just clarifying, was this something that was originally part of the scope of the project of the Crown Valley Community Center, or was it something that we added on later? And
it is my understanding, as the history of this project has been shared with me, that this was always intended that there would be an art piece. It was even budgeted for in the original scope, and the plans included an art piece at the community center.
And then the other part of it was, I guess, we only saw the one piece, so how was the selection process for the piece that was selected?
I'll let Public Works Director Scott talk to you about the details of how we arrived at this.
Thank you, City Manager Letourneau. In October, after we met with the ad hoc in late August, Public Works released an RFP. The RFP was advertised very broadly across several artists' websites where artists frequently look for commissioning of new artwork, and shared with a number of cities around the county that often commission artwork as well, including Laguna Beach and Costa Mesa. The RFP was due back to the city in November, responses to the RFP. We received 28, several boxes of submissions, and we convened a review committee in order to review those submissions. There was a broad spectrum of submittals. There were some international and from all over the United States as well. The review committee narrowed it down to 4 semifinalists that seemed to have the most fit and applicability with our project and to complement our city as well. And the full review committee then convened together in early January to review the 4 semifinalists, where feedback was provided to city staff to move forward with a recommendation of award of contract for this particular piece that you have in the report tonight.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm excited to see the rendering, and it's, real thing, so I just wanted to hear the process. I appreciate it. I'll move the item unless, I think somebody else wanted to say something about it.
I had one comment.
Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you very much. I received some late communication today. I just want to make sure that was addressed
Yes.
by city staff.
Yes,
So
it was.
any unresolved issues we need to know about?
No.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Councilmember Genoway.
No, I think this piece is very appropriate for Laguna Niguel. It's a beautiful piece. One of the goals was to have kind of a signature for Laguna Niguel, a place where people would want to come and identify with our city and take their picture in front of, and something unique to our city. But this one also shows the history of our city, and it does tie in very well with our botanical preserve. That's one of the gems there at Crown Valley Park, and the butterfly on the top with our butterfly garden. So I think this is very appropriate, and it'll be a beautiful piece once it's installed.
Mayor Pro Tem Miniker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I already talked to our city manager, Letourneau, earlier this afternoon because I wanted to make sure that this budget item has been included in the fiscal year 2019-2020 CIP program. And since it is, I'm very proud of this. I think it's going to rejuvenate our great city to make it more beautiful. So thank you.
All right, great. Can I have a motion to
I'll
approve?
move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstain? Moved. Good job, guys. All right. We are now moving on to discussion item number 1, and that is the implementation of the annual City of Laguna Niguel Carnival. Parks and Recreation Director Giglio, please provide a staff report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. It was requested that staff report back with additional information so you may determine if a 3-day carnival should be prioritized as an annual city event. Some of the benefits of the event include creating the opportunity for community outreach by directly interacting with residents. And the hope is that attendance will increase economic development and interest for local businesses, as well as provide a destination point for non-residents to expose the city's family-friendly community to potential future residents and businesses. Staff recommends that the carnival be held in August prior to the start of the school year, as more families may be in town before getting back to busy school and sports schedules. City summer camp, swim lessons, and other special events wrap up in August, providing increased staff availability, and because of this, no additional staff is necessary to host the event. The 30th anniversary carnival location on El Lazo and Doreen is believed to be best suited for the event, as street closures have minimal impact on surrounding businesses, residents, and traffic flow. In the future, staff recommends utilizing more of El Lazo in place of the Laguna Design Center parking lot for food trucks and the beer and wine garden. The additional portion of El Lazo will still require coordination with General Services Administration, as a main entrance is impacted by the street closure. The 30th anniversary carnival was the largest marketing effort in the city's history, which was done in a tight time frame. In the future, advertising for the event will be more timely, direct, and multiple methods of social media, print media, and grassroots notifications will be utilized to reach all citizens by way of their preferred method of notification. The Chamber of Commerce and staff provided feedback that many businesses near the event were happy with the event and reported increased business activity during the carnival. However, there were some complaints received from owners and employees who did not receive adequate notification regarding the event, and they wanted to be involved. In the future, staff will contact both property owners and business owners directly in a timely manner to ensure that everyone is aware of the event and the impacts. Businesses will also be encouraged to participate either through sponsorship or promoting their own respective specials during the event. In order to hold this event annually, the most economically feasible option would be to host a carnival as a 3-day event. Companies that provide carnival equipment are able to offer a percentage split option where fees for equipment, rides, games, and operators are based on ticket sales. If the City Council directs staff to move forward with the event, staff will work to establish an official sponsorship program to reduce the city's cost as much as possible, with the ultimate goal of making this a budget-neutral event, which will take time to establish that program and to make it work. Alternatives for this recommendation include the City Council may decide not to host an annual carnival, or you may consider hosting the event only on significant anniversary years, or you may direct staff to go back to the drawing board to research alternative events. Funding is not currently allocated for the city's annual operating budget to support a carnival event. If the City Council desires to have an annual carnival, $130,000 will need to be appropriated in the fiscal year 2021 budget to cover costs. Staff recommends that the City Council determine if a 3-day carnival should be prioritized as an annual city event and direct staff to include $130,000 in the fiscal year 2021 annual general fund operating budget to fund event expenditures. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Councilmember Jennings.
I hadn't asked to be recognized yet. Good, so thank you. Well, I think it's no great secret that I was a fan of this process. I think it's important. Of all the things that government does, building community is by far one of the best. We did a lot last year. It was a very busy year, and staff did a tremendous job. But of all the things that we did, the carnival was by far the best received. It was the best attended. Our survey results, which we just happened to have a city survey in the middle of the year because of our strategic plan, gave 97% positive results to the carnival. And I thought that the ROI, the return on investment for the expenditure that we made versus the benefit that we got, was one of the best investments we've ever received. My diatribe that goes along with this has been focused on trying to repair, or do what we can, I think is a better way to say, to repair the divide that seems to permeate our civic life. I mean, it's no great observation on my part to note that we live in a time divided, and anything that we can do to emphasize that our city is different than that our city enjoys community, that community is important to what we are, that we don't just give lip service to Parks and Rec and economic development and community development, that we actually do something about it. And that's true across all of our programming, so it's not like we're without programming that handles that. But this was special, and it was different. I can tell you that of all the positive feedback that we got on social media last year, which, by the way, hit more than 2.5 million people in a single year, which was off the charts compared to anything that we'd ever touched before, the overwhelming response to that was, why can't we do this every year? And this is something special. We love it, and let's do it again. And maybe it was because I was thinking about it more, but I was approached a lot individually by people that were also talking about that. You know, we spend a lot of money on things. We just spent $100 and something thousand on a butterfly statue. So let's be clear about we have the ability, we have the resources, and I think that we have the community commitment to make this. There are political reasons why you don't want to spend money. I get that. I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't want to be willy-nilly with that, but I will tell you that I think it's important. In a time where we could just ignore this and let it go on and we could spend our money doing something else, we could also choose to do something that builds community, that brings people together. And frankly, I saw it bring our staff together. I was there all 3 days and watched the vendors participate, and I was very pleased with what I saw, the experiences that we had, and the creativity of our staff made it even more special. And I saw the aftermath of that and the conversations about how it could even be different and better and more creative. I think it's very important. I like the part of the staff report that emphasizes that we should make an effort to make it revenue neutral. I think that's very positive. Our interim city manager, Bob Hall, last year had some great ideas, and I've talked with the mayor of Fountain Valley about what they do, what their foundation does, and those are good examples of what's possible, and I think we should do that. And that's certainly possible. But we have an opportunity before us to, I think, double down on our emphasis on economic development, on community development, and I think this is one of the best things that we could do for the city, and I think it would be a real disappointment if we lost that opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Genoway.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was there all 3 days too, so was my whole family. It was such a fun carnival. It was a great experience for all our residents. We did have a report come back to us October 1st with a recap, and one of the things that I had asked staff to look at was the impact on our business community, because I wanted to make sure that the surrounding businesses, that it was a positive impact for them, not a negative. So I think what we found out that it was. The only ones who it may have not been as positive as we hoped was maybe there was not some communication between the property managers and the actual business owners. So I'm glad to see that that's something that will be worked on. Though as a council member, I do have concerns about this would be a recurring expense, an annual expense of over $100,000. We're looking at $130,000 right now, and staff anticipates that that amount would be decreasing as sponsorships increase. So, you know, not only are there our area businesses who can be sponsors and our different service providers that we work with as a city, but we also need to consider national sponsorships, like the you know, down the street from where we hold the carnival is Pepsi-Cola. Well, maybe a Pepsi stage or maybe a Coca-Cola stage, but something like that. But that does take time to grow into. So I understand that the sponsorships should be increasing and the cost to our taxpayers is decreasing. I look at the cost to the taxpayers, and when you think, okay, so it's about $2 a person, but only about less than 20% of our residents attended the carnival. So there's a higher cost there. Over time, we would be hoping to get more of them involved and come to this event. I think Laguna Niguel needs to have a signature event. I am still challenged, though, with the money, that it's a recurring expense when I know our sheriff's contract is going up. I know that we need to, you know, put some more funding towards maintenance of our city facilities, that we need to be doing some updates on our plans, things like that. So we have a lot more expenses looming out there than we have revenue coming in. In the original recap that staff provided with for us in October, staff time was about $9,500 for the carnival. And I'm glad to see that that was an expenditure that was accounted for with the carnival, because we do need to know how much are we spending on staff time to put this on. What I would want to have is some assurance that we're not going to be adding more staff to be putting this carnival on, that it is within the bandwidth of our current Parks and Recreation Department to be doing this carnival and putting it on with the current staffing that we have, because we don't want to say, yes, we'll do it, and then we find out we need to start hiring more staff. And not only is it the hourly cost of staff, but it's all the benefits and pension and everything else that goes with that. So I'd like to hear some assurances that we will not be having to increase staff if we were to go ahead with this.
We do not think we will be increasing staff at all. If anything, we will be decreasing. This was the first year we had the event. We were heavy on some days with staff just to make sure we were covered. We learned some efficiencies that we can do better. So we do think that number can come down. Obviously, the staffing costs tend to go up over the years with raises and increased salary increases, but we would do our best to keep that at a minimum. But we don't anticipate hiring additional staff to operate this event.
Okay, and the event, now last time it was the weekend before school started, and you would be having it the weekend before school started.
Yes, we feel that's the best time based off of all of our other summer activities. When those come to an end, we can now use those staff to do the carnival and to work the carnival.
Well, and also families are back in town because before that they've picked up their registration packets from the school.
Yes.
So they're
And we
back
do
here.
find that in September it tends to get busy with football and sports and everything else going on.
Okay. No, I think as long as we're not increasing the staffing, I think this is a great benefit to provide to our residents. Again, Laguna Niguel needs a signature event. We have lots of signature events, but this will be our summertime one. And it did bring in a lot of people from other cities. So I hope that we can work very closely with our Chamber of Commerce and somehow leverage that to get those visitors to be supporting our Laguna Niguel businesses. So thank you for all the information in the report.
You're welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem Miniger?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not to repeat what my colleague said, but I'm 100% in favor of a 3-day carnival. I think it was a great success. When I heard from the mayor of City of Laguna Hills saying that she brought her entire family to come here and enjoy, it was a very good sign. When I heard from elected officials and residents in the city of Aliso Viejo coming here, that's a positive sign. The only suggestion I have from Director Giglio is that if the cost is $130K and the cost recovery that you call it is $36K, meaning through ticket sales, sponsorship, and contributions, what you, your department, and the city as a whole, and all of us can do to reduce the gap between cost versus benefit. So I strongly suggest that since I'm 100% in favor of everything, how you can improve that portion of it so in the future years, the taxpayers of this city would not be, concerned about $100 and some $1,000, which is a lot of money. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate that.
Councilmember Raines?
I will tell you that my daughter loved that carnival and those rides, so it was fun for her. And some kids never grow up, and some adults never grow up. So it was a fun event. I know our staff worked overtime and really hard to make it an effective event for our community. And I do agree that we need to have a signature event. We have a lot of events that we already staff through our concerts in the park, the haunted trails, the holiday things that we do, the sea country. So these are just some of my concerns when I think about saying let's do something annually. First one being, is a carnival, as much fun as it was, is that a signature event that says this is who Laguna Niguel is? Or is there something else that really identifies who Laguna Niguel is and what it is? The other part is we just talked, it's in our approval today, we started a 115 trust so that we can start putting money aside for our pension liability. It's $7.5 million of pension liability that our taxpayers need to pay. Then we have to restore our revenue surplus as we finish out the Crown Valley Community Park. Now we have to restore that revenue surplus, make sure our rainy day fund is fully funded. The other part of it is we have some deferred maintenance and aging infrastructure that we're going to have to start addressing as our community starts aging. And finally, the Crown Valley Community Park is opening, so there's going to be a lot of staff involved in opening that, manning that, scheduling events, getting things going. We hired 3 new staff members for that particular reason. So with that being said, I'm just like, where does the staff burnout hit? At what point does the staff get so burnt out? Where right now you're saying, I think, Allison, that you wouldn't need staff, but we just hired 3 new staff members for the park, and then at what point would we have that if it was an annual event? I think I would be more in favor of doing something on our special occasions, like maybe every 5 years. Not that I'm Greek, so I love good parties, and it was a great party. So that is not the situation at all. So that would be my big concern is, would we be able to rebuild our revenue, make sure that it wasn't something that burnt out our staff, where long-term we will be adding to that. And that's a question that I would like, basically my question.
Well, if I can respond, we're only going to open this community center once. Yes, it's a taxing year. We have a lot going on. But an event like this, when we have more time to plan for it, it will become more efficient as time goes on. It will be less taxing on staff. There is a lot happening at one time this year. I don't anticipate that being an issue in the future. We like to throw fun events. If everybody wants to have a fun event, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. I'm not going to lie and say it's going to be easy, because it's a difficult year, but we're going to get past it. And as time goes on, as we have more time to plan these events, if it's something we can count on, then we will put it in our schedule and we will make it happen. And the additional staff that you so graciously approved for us will help us to achieve events like this.
Okay, so this year it's the community center that's opening, and it's an unknown to us, so we don't know what kind of staffing. But that doesn't mean, like this past year we had a lot going on too. So every year I think our city does have a lot going on. So I'm just trying to think forward. I'm not trying to be the party pooper. So I appreciate that. Those are my concerns with us putting something on a line item budget when we have other things that we really need to address for an annual thing that we do. Not opposed to having something, just wanting to make sure that we're really mindful that we're not just adding more line item budgets to our budget.
Thank you. Councilmember Jennings.
Great, thank you very much, Mayor. Councilman Genoway raised a good point. Just to make sure that you understand, last year's carnival was originally intended to be sponsorship free. As a gift is the wrong word, but as something that we did for the city as part of the 30th celebration. At the last, it sort of became obvious that people were interested in sponsorship, so Molten Go came on and they did their sponsorship, and that was great. But I think that is barely touched. I mean, we have now this big opportunity to bring in all sorts of sponsorships, and I love the idea. Bigger is better, and that's fine. I like anything that helps offset the cost. But just so you know, we didn't go down that road intentionally to stay away from having to do that. The original intent was to try to put the sponsorships on the final event of the year, which is now being rolled into the opening of Crown Park Community Building. So I think that's right in front of us, and we're right there. I am sensitive to everything that Councilman Raines said. Our reserves are fully funded. It's not as if we're not. We have an opportunity to overfund them, which I think we should. We've had discussions year over year about some years we spend money and some years we save money. This has been a very expensive year for not only Crown Valley Park opening, but also our 30th anniversary landing on the same year. So we are, I think, in all respects, done with that. And now we head into the time where we go into full maintenance mode, where we take care of things. So rather than having a robust CIP budget, we will have a robust maintenance budget, which I think just preserves the beauty of the things that we have now. I don't see any forecasting that indicates that we should expect something different. I am sensitive to that. I've been watching OCBC put that out, and Cal State Fullerton and Chapman and Saddleback, all three had economic forecasts that project increased growth, although slowing, but increased growth over the next 3 to 5 years. And that's about as far out as any economic prediction ever goes. So I think we're in a very good place right now. This doesn't have to be an every year. We are talking about considering it every year, but we're really just talking about this year because the council can in any year decide that maybe we should take a break or a breather if our money doesn't hold up. So, and just sort of assimilating what everyone has said, I agree. I just think that the cost benefit of what we get out of this is extraordinary, and we've only yet started tapping into it because while last year was the first one, I would expect the second one to even have more cachet. And I love the idea of getting the chamber even more involved. They did a fabulous job this last year, but our businesses will want to do sponsorships and all sorts of things. So that's really, I think, a great opportunity. So,
Director Giglio, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just wanted to make a mention of a question that Councilmember Raines asked in Laguna Niguel, does this show who we are? And I think there was a perfect demonstration of that at the carnival. One of the benefits we're not talking about or we haven't touched on yet were the community booths. And I can't tell you how many representatives of the different community service organizations came up, and they spoke to me, and I'm sure they spoke to my colleagues as well, as how much they appreciated the opportunity to be out there with the public, have people coming up to their booths and finding out what they do, and then they were also interacting with each other. And I always believe that our volunteers in our community are our greatest asset, but I think that really added a unique component to it in having the different community organizations there. So that was a great feature of the carnival.
Great. A question for you. Last year, how much time did you guys have to actually put this together?
We started planning in April, I believe.
So like I said, you had just a few months to actually put this together. And I do know, like, once you do that first-time event, that's where most of the time goes into. Then you can start tweaking it and you start realizing how much time. So usually the time is a lot less. And, what it took the first time, you can kind of see what worked and what didn't work. Also, I know one thing that I thought we could perhaps look at in regards to hours and cutting back was like on Sunday. Perhaps we don't need to go that late because I think we went all the way up to 9 or 10 o'clock on Sunday night where we could pull back. And by pulling back, then obviously we're not having to pay for staff as much. We're not paying for police services as much. So is that something that you guys were looking at as well?
We're going to adjust the hours to the best of our ability with the contract with the carnival equipment. There
Right.
are certain time frames that you
Right.
have to meet them on.
And I want to make a point too, is Councilmember Genoway had said that was one of the first events. We have the 4th of July run, but that was really one of the first events we've had where we've had all the community involved, where we had businesses had their tents, and all the clubs had their tents, and it really was something that showed this community how involved we are when it comes to that. And it really was an incredible event. And I can tell you, as Mayor Pro Tem Miniger had said, that we both went to the State of the City address for Laguna Hills. And they actually were so amazed at how well we did this that they're interested in doing something like this as well, because they saw how it brought the community together, how it brought the businesses together, and and for other cities to see really how that affected our city, and that they came and had such a great time that they actually want to go ahead and invest and do something like that, I think says a lot. With that, I'm going to go ahead and do I have anyone more comments here?
I'd make a motion to approve.
I second.
You know what, I'm going to jump in real quick. I just want to, sorry about that. This is something that would be approving for this year, and it's not something that would go annually into the budget. It's something I think that needs to be addressed every year, so that, every council that comes up has an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to keep it or not.
And that's, by the way, true of everything in our budget.
Correct.
We can always amend the budget. We can even amend it at mid-year if we want to. So yes, the motion is only to approve this year.
And just real quick too, when I did talk to our CEO at the chamber, Scott Elvery, he had said too that he does this a lot, that there's a lot more that they can do where we can make it where the cost isn't there, that it can actually pay for it. Rancho Santa Margarita does a big event as well. So, where the money, it's not coming from the city. So I think there's a lot of things now that we have more time in advance that we could actually make a difference and probably cut this quite a ways. And again, we have more time to get sponsors. So I think that we can actually show that we can make a difference with this. So again, I'm going to go ahead and have a motion.
I just
Please
have
go ahead.
Is this written for that we can do that for just 1 year, or is it written for an annual carnival?
You can do either.
Okay.
It's up to you, the council direction, if you want us to bring back a report every year so you can decide, vote it up or down, we can do that.
Is that your motion?
Well, I mean, the staff recommendation, I mean, the very last thing is only to approve it for the 2021 general year. So I'm only making a motion to approve it.
Yeah, that's to put the money in this budget.
In
But
this
right.
if your intention is this would become an annual event, then we would continue to program it in our budget
we
every
need to
year. And the council
verify
could discuss it at the budget time as well.
That's
So
right. I mean,
but that's a little,
that's really the time to put it in. I mean, we now have,
the timing of that is the problem, because you're adopting a budget in June and you can't do an event in August.
Correct,
So
and they need to know
that's
if they're
the issue.
moving forward.
If you're interested in approving it for this year, we can do that and we'll program it into the budget. but then at this time every year, we would need to bring a report back to talk about it. So we have advanced planning.
Well, my recommendation would be, and it's sort of what we did this year, is that I would make a motion to approve it for this year. Last year, we had a look-see afterwards. We came back and did a follow-up evaluation, the sort of the return on investment, what it cost. I think that was a very effective process, by the way. So I recommend that we do that, and I just ask that at some time in September or October, when those numbers have been crunched, that you bring it back, and we can then have a discussion about whether or not we want to do it for the following year, if that's amenable to your point.
I'm
So
good with that.
I'm including that in my motion.
That's great. That timing works perfectly. We would come back once and not twice.
I think he has a motion.
In a
And
second.
Second, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You abstain? Moved.
I'm sorry, Mayor, who was the second?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to item 2. All right, who do we have going here? Item 2. We have, great, Deputy City Manager Martin?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you this evening is related to the update of the municipal code provisions specifically related to commissions, boards, and committees. On October 1st, 2019, the City Council adopted Ordinance 2019-198. The ordinance was a very comprehensive update to the provisions of all city commissions, boards, and committees that are appointed by the entire City Council and/or by subsects of the City Council. The adoption of this ordinance included the placement of all current operational provisions into the Laguna Niguel Municipal Code. Since the adoption of the ordinance last October, 2 additional applicable operational provisions have been requested to be amended. The first was a request made by the City Council during the December 5th, 2019 Special City Council meeting to dissolve the Sports Advisory Committee. The second was a previous request, which was first introduced in September of 2018 to amend the procedure for removal of members of the Military Support Committee. In regards to dissolving the Sports Advisory Committee, the meetings, which are held quarterly, have varying levels of attendance by the membership and have agenda items that are generally procedural and administrative in nature. With the dissolution of this committee, your Parks and Recreation Commission will assume the duties of during their monthly meetings. With this change, Parks and Recreation Department staff will continue to communicate with sports organizations to disseminate important information. This change will not impact the field allocation process, prioritization of field requests, or benefits that the organizations currently receive. Further, staff will work to develop a plan for future forums and communications regarding sports organizations. In regards to the Military Support Committee procedures for the removal of members, there has been prior discussion and consideration by the City Council. In September of 2018, a similar item was presented to the Council. However, the result of the discussion was deemed premature, so the City Council directed staff to review all procedures for commissions, boards, and committees, and to return to the City Council with comprehensive updates and recommendations. Staff spent time reviewing the City Council's request and did return to formally present comprehensive updates and recommendations to the City Council as part of the aforementioned ordinance, which was adopted in October of 2019. Staff, however, erroneously did not include the update related to the procedure to remove Military Support Committee members by the co-chairs of the committee. To amend both of these provisions in the Municipal Code, staff has prepared Ordinance Number 2020-203. This ordinance will dissolve the Sports Advisory Committee and amend the procedures for the removal of Military Support Committee members. Given this, to streamline city processes and further update the provisions of the City Council commissions, boards, and committees, staff recommends that the City Council waive full reading, make any amendments to, and introduce Ordinance Number 2020-203, and direct the proposed ordinance with any changes to it to be placed on the agenda for February 18th, 2020, and adopt the ordinance at that meeting. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Questions? Councilmember Jennings?
Great, thank you very much. I've been the liaison to the Sports Advisory Committee for some time. It's important to note that we've been talking about budgets a lot tonight, and Brown Act meetings are extremely expensive. They're extremely time-consuming. They're rather unnecessary if they can be avoided. And this is just one more of those meetings that staff has to ramp up for, they have to allocate time for. And frankly, I don't know if it provides that big of a benefit to the people that we're trying to serve on this. So I see this as a great benefit to our sports community because now we have a committee that meets often, that is very engaged, and we're inviting back the people sitting on the Sports Advisory Committee to engage with that committee. So we lose nothing by this. We gain tremendous savings, and it is, by all respects, I think the right thing to do. I was very sensitive to the fact I don't like abandoning committees, but we do so when we have to for the right reasons, and I think this is a great reason because we're going to up the level of service that we're going to give them. So I like that, and I'd make motion to approve unless there's further comment.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have to go ahead and do we have to read this ordinance? Or we're good?
Yes, we should read the
I
ordinance.
thought,
by
okay,
title.
so we're going to go and recommendations to waive full reading, making the amendment to and introduce ordinance number 2020-203 by title, ordinance number 2020-203, an ordinance of the city of Loudoun-Niguel, amending the Loudoun-Niguel Municipal Code, modifying the procedures for removal of members of the Military Support Committee, dissolving the Sports Advisory Committee, and making a finding of exemptions under CEQA in connection therefore. And number 2, direct that the proposed ordinance with any changes to it be placed on the agenda for the February 18th, 2020 City Council meeting and adopt the ordinance at this meeting. Again, I'll just go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moved. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for that. All right, thank you. That concludes our discussion items. So we will now move on to other businesses and council reports. And who would like to start for the beginning of the year? Councilmember Genoway?
You're looking at me, so
I
I
am,
guess
so why
I'll
not,
we'll
huh?
start at this end.
Yeah, thank you.
So last week, we had the first Junior Civic Workshop of 2020. Our Fire Chief, Mike Contreras, made the presentation to our middle school students about what the fire department does, what they do, what he does as a firefighter, also the training that's involved. And he talked to the students quite a bit about leadership and leadership skills and what that entails. So I thought that was very beneficial to our middle school students. And also Paul Whitelock and Carol Allen did a presentation on telling the history of our city through the different symbols that are in our city seal, which you can see right up there. So they prepared that lesson in conjunction with the Historical Society several years ago. Our next Junior Civic Workshop will be a presentation on the trails, the bike trails throughout Laguna Niguel. And many people don't know that we have 80 miles of trails in our city, so it's a phenomenal asset that we have. And then also police services will talk to the students about bike safety. This earlier today attended a very informative meeting. Actually, Mayor Pro Tem Minigar was there as well. We were at a meeting with the Orange County Forum, and it was the state of the county and also forecasting the future for our communities and looking at the trends not only in population growth, but the companies that are here in Orange County and throughout the state, the type of employment, the level of employment that's provided in the housing. So those are all important things for us to be focusing on and looking at as we plan for the future of our community. So I just thought it was very interesting. They had a little different perspective than we hear at all the other meetings that we attend. And that is it, Mayor.
We'll go ahead with Councilmember Raines.
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm honored to be the new co-chair with Councilmember Genoway for the Military Support Committee. I look forward to serving in that capacity since I do have a daughter who's getting deployed in a few weeks in the Navy and have a retired husband who served our country. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Jennings.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to note the Orange County Housing Finance Trust is an organization that was created last year by, I think it was AB 448, I got the number right, which was passed unanimously, surprisingly, by the Assembly and the Senate and signed into law, which created the trust, which allows communities who want to participate to pool resources and lend money for the development of permanent supportive housing to help people transition away from homelessness into more productive parts of society and have a roof, and there's a whole process. It is an inordinately expensive thing to do. We are told that for the 2,700 units that we should be expecting into the $900 million range. So the good news for housing is that we collectively, we the cities, are not having to fund that. Rather, we serve as gap financing so that when developers do produce this housing, that there is money that's available to them for development, for design, and all parts of the development process. There can be the need for infusion of capital. In just the short time that the Housing Finance Trust has been open, 23 of the 34 California or Orange County cities have joined, including the County of Orange. We have now created a process which is designed to get $25 million into that account. The county pre-funded it with $5 million. We found resources through the state level to increase that to $25 million, and we are looking actively to get more funds into that. We have several cities that are planning to come on board to that, and we encourage them to do that. I've been honored to be the chair of that since its inception last year, and it's one of the more collaborative boards I've been around at the county level. Surprisingly, I didn't expect it to be that, frankly, and one of the reasons I think that we were there and wanted to have a seat at the table was to ensure that that the county was doing everything it was supposed to do while the city stepped up and did that. I've been very proud of the city's efforts. We do now have a funding allocation for the first year of the trust, which includes this fiscal year, so it goes all the way through July of this year. The county is picking up all the funding, so the city joined without having to do that in our resolution to become a part of it and ensured that that was the case. We now know that mid-sized cities, which Laguna Niguel falls into, our rough annual expenditure is exactly on point where we thought it would be. It's right around $10,000 a year, and that would include all the administrative costs, including the lobbying efforts and everything else that are baked into that for the next year. We are looking at different funding strategies so that if you have a very large city and a kind of a large city, that maybe they pay a base amount and then a percentage based upon per capita, per population on top of that. And so that's still ongoing. But I was very pleased that the buy-in is actually pretty cheap for what you get for the administrative side, and the upside is huge. So the takeaway from that is that Laguna Niguel has been extremely active in trying to find a solution regionally and locally for permanent supportive housing. And we're doing so at very little cost to our taxpayers and at great benefit to the people that need it. Just now, and only 6 months into this process, we already have something called a NOFA, which is going out, which is a Notice of Funding Availability, which is us telling the world that we have over $5 million that we want to fund immediately. And so developers who are doing permanent supportive housing can apply into the fund. The committee will then choose which of those applicants we're going to do the funding for, one or more of them, and that will be deployed directly into the process. So you can see a dollar-for-dollar benefit on that. And so I want to say thank you to that. I encourage us to stay part of that, and I would encourage any of the cities that may be considering to join that to join in, because it has been a very positive thing, and I think by all accounts, it's objectively speaking for us, it wasn't an obvious fit for us. But it has turned out to be a huge benefit, and I'm very proud of our city for stepping up and continuing to be part of that. So that's all I had. Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
And I just want to jump in on that. We are definitely, we've got good representation down in the South County of Orange, correct?
That's
on
right.
that board?
Yeah. Well, we do, and in fact, we have Dana Point has a member on the committee. Mission Viejo has a member on the committee. We have a chair of the committee. So we're very well represented, perhaps even overrepresented as part of the region to have it. So this mindset is South County minded, but it's all of Orange County that's being considered. So it's one of those times where we can be proud that South County is participating actively as it should be in something that's very important.
I'm really glad to see it moving forward. I mean, last year was, beginning, and, it was something new to the system, and that the fact that we're working with the county and with the private sector is fantastic. So thank you for all your time.
Well, thank you, and I should also say thank you to the mayor because she was the president of ACCOC when AB 448 was passed, and that was a big moment, and I'm glad to see that the county's taking advantage of it.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Miniger.
Thank you. I just wanted to go over just one item. I wanted to thank the city staff specifically, starting actually with Mayor Lori Davis for attending the Connect SoCal workshop, which was the last workshop of Southern California Association of Governments as a part of 2020-2045 Regional Transportation Plan Sustainable Communities strategy of the Southern California Association of Governments. Our city hosted the last workshop, and the comments are due by this coming Friday of the week. I wanted to thank our city manager, City Manager Letourneau, and Assistant City Manager Justin Martin, and also the Director of Community Development, Jonathan Orduna, for organizing this. It was a great event, and the bottom line is that by the end of this week, SCAG's going to be archiving all the comments from 191 cities within 6 counties in Southern California, and then it's going to come back to us on the Regional Council in Los Angeles for the final vote on the Connect SoCal. Connect SoCal is very critical because it talks about allocation of funding in different areas. Transportation obviously is a major area, and how we are going to be funding those. And as a representative for District 12, which is comprised of basically 6 cities in South Orange County, I wanted to make sure that we are well represented and we get our fair share of the budget allocations. If it's coming from Washington, D.C., or it's coming from Sacramento as a major tax payer or donor, we get our fair share. So with that, if you have any comments, everything is online. Connect SoCal is a part of the SCAG's website, and it's very easy to go through to review. But again, this week is the last week that you can make your comments. With that, I conclude my comments.
And thank you again for bringing that here. It was a very informative meeting. Myself and our city manager met with Congressman Harley Ruda in regards to some concerns we've had, and I just want to read a little update that he gave us. Obviously, the air noise with the airplanes, concern, pollution, and so that was one of the things that we addressed. And right now, he has 6 bills that he's going to be pushing through, but this one I just wanted to read. This was HR 5450. And this bill would set ambitious goals of commercial airplanes emitting 50% less greenhouse gases and 50% less noise compared to 2019 levels by 2030 for regional planes and 2040 for larger single aisle planes. It does so by authorizing NASA to accelerate its work to develop and demonstrate the technologies made this goal a reality. So he is well aware of the concerns we have, not just our city, but others, with the flight patterns and whether it's environmental, but also noise. So the good thing is that he's working hard, and if you have any questions, I would highly recommend calling his office. They'll be able to fill you in. And then another, they're definitely working on the 5G, which will be coming to our city sooner than we'd like. But we'll be having outreach. I know that Councilmember Raines and myself definitely will be doing some community outreach in regards to that. But one he has is it's HR, let me see what this is. 530 is a bill related to local control of 5G infrastructure. Rep. Ruda is a co-sponsor of the bill, which has been referred to the House. And basically, the concern is we don't have a lot of local control. Right now, we have is the control of aesthetics, and that's it. So some of these bills are going to give us the control so we can say where they're actually going to be put, which really would be what we need right now. So again, I would, put a call into him, tell him that you're supporting this. This is something, again, that local control is being taken away, so that's something really important. And with that, Happy New Year to everyone, and we'll start with our chief.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you, Mayor. Police Services will be joining the Laguna Niguel Youth Committee for Pizza with Police on January 30th. That's a Thursday night from 5 to 7 p.m. It'll be at Ballpark Pizza here on Town Center. This is a great event where high school students can interact with us. It's good for us as well to make those relationships. So I encourage any high school students, parents, push your kids to come to this. it's a great time to ask questions of us, to see us in a different environment, and just really get to know us and build that relationship. So looking forward to that event. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I wanted to remind the public of the city's platforms for communications. We're focusing on a slogan of get connected and stay connected. And with that, we encourage the public to download the Laguna Niguel mobile app, as well as subscribe to our social media, which includes Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel that's very active. A Notify Me alert system that's part of our city's website that sends out alerts to your smartphone and to your email. We are also part of Nextdoor, and we are also part of the e-Track It notification system, where the public can not only go through an inspection process, but submit complaints or comments to the city. So we encourage the public to get connected and stay connected through all of those platforms.
You've been doing a great job. Thank you for that. All right, Orange County Fire Authority, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Barrick Hunter, Battalion Chief, Orange County Fire Authority. Chief Contreras was unable to be here tonight. I apologize for being late. I was at a structure fire in Dana Point. With Laguna Niguel, Fire Station 5, we started a landscaping project out front. Fire Station 39 just received a brand new fire engine. And Fire Station 49, the front lobby area is being redone. We completed our EMS training. We put automatic cardiac compression devices on the engines. So the engine, as well as Truck 49, has those. What those are automatic devices to do compressions during cardiac arrest. So the whole department has them, but we just implement them here in this city in the last 3 weeks. And I'd like to invite council, staff, as well as all the citizens to any of the fire stations to see your new equipment and meet your firefighters and
Great.
report.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Interfinance Director.
Yes, hi. I don't know if everybody met me, Richard Martinez. Been here for a couple months now. I don't have much to report. We just had our budget kickoff meeting last week, so everybody's diligently working on those, and we're also starting on our mid-year report.
I think we'll be getting ready for our budget workshop coming soon, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. All right, City Clerk Gomez.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you. I just wanted to remind the public that this Friday, January 24th, by 5 o'clock p.m. is the deadline for applications to be submitted for the Senior Citizens Committee. So if anyone is 55 and older and would like to serve the community with the Senior Citizens Committee, we really can use your help. So I encourage you to apply. You can get an application online or come to the City Clerk's Department on the second floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Giglio.
Thank you, Mayor. Saturday, February 1st is our next inclusive event for teens with special needs. Come to Sea Country from 1 to 3:30 for a fun afternoon of Star Wars theme activities and games and a screening of a Star Wars movie. And we invite the families and aides to attend as well with the families. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Scott.
Thank you, Mayor Davies. The pavement rehabilitation work along Alicia Parkway is continuing. We started with the segment just north of Highlands, and we'll be continuing to work northwards towards Pacific Park over the next several weeks. In addition to that, we'll be starting some concrete rehabilitation work on Golden Lantern. The work should be fairly minor in nature and cause minimal disruptions to the traveling public. Thank you.
Good to hear. Director Arndunia.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy New Year to all, and no further comments.
All right. And we'll finish it off with City Manager Letourneau.
No report this evening.
All right. Great. I've got to actually see that. That's pretty good here. All right. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it, and we're going to adjourn at 8:30.